I like when we start to dissect our thinking around disease. This disease model we've been raised in, we have to start questioning our own belief system. We were raised to believe because we're raised in the allopathic model of healthcare, right? So you go to your MD, as a kid, they shoot you up with pharmaceuticals, send you home, give you drugs, whatever. You get lab work and you're either normal or abnormal, right? And that's their parameters. If you're feeling sick, but you're not sick enough to get on a drug, then they have nothing for you. But they look for these parameters. Once your symptomology and lab work fall into certain parameters, then they can give you a label and they can say you have this disease. But this is a human construct, a mindset, and it is not real, right? It's a construct where we decide on certain parameters. And interestingly enough, in Hawaii, there was no mental illness before settlers came. They kept somewhat of a history and there was no history of mental illness. So this concept of like deciding, I don't know if we, the settlers, caused the mental illness, or if you don't have a name for it, you're just like, oh, my cousin's a little weird, but we love him. And there's no box you put someone in.
That's a lot of indigenous areas like that too. As much as I'm a genetic specialist here, our genetics have not changed much over the past 100,000 years. So the real cause of the increase in chronic illnesses, it's not due to the genetics. It's due to the toxic world. You can't control your genetics. You can figure out what the weak points are. Do you think the people that get the sickest from heavy metals, they have the worst heavy metal issues, do you think they actually consume that much orders of magnitude higher levels of these metals? Or do you think their cells have genetic mutations that hardwire their cells to absorb extra metals or not clear it as well?
If we look at genetics, epigenetics, how their detox pathways, what's their liver dealing with, what's their nutrient deficiencies looking like, because if the liver doesn't have the raw building blocks to process, right?
So genetic versus exposure level. And even when people talk about nutrient deficiencies, every nutrient vitamin gets absorbed through a certain protein made by a gene, metabolized by a certain protein or gene, transported by a certain protein or gene. If the magnesium daily requirement is 1,000 milligrams, it's not even true, but just number argument's sake here, 1,000 milligrams, and you only consume 200 milligrams per day. Yeah, that's a lifestyle nutrient deficiency. But if you consume 1,000 milligrams and you have genetic mutations in how you absorb magnesium, you don't need 1,000 milligrams. You need significantly more than that. So that's two ends of a nutrient deficiency, right? It's what you're actually putting into your body, into your pie hole, right? Versus what is actually being absorbed.